All right, our last section is going to refer to the Middle East and decolonization and resulting conflict in that region. So if you remember, as far as the Middle East has been concerned for many years, the large power had been the Ottoman Empire. But after World War I, the Ottoman Empire had been divided because of the British kind of establishing these different mandates. So Israel, or the area at the time that was known as Palestine, had religious motivations from multiple sides. So the Jewish population had identified the region with their previous Jewish kings who had ruled over Jerusalem. The Arabs believed that the region was rightfully theirs because they had conquered it in the 7th century. And so there are two groups of power who believe that the region is rightfully theirs for different reasons. And you also have to understand just under the difference between Islam and Judaism, and that the Islamic community also views Jerusalem as a sacred city. So there's that conflict. When World War I came to a close, Sir Arthur Balfour is going to create the Balfour Declaration or Doctrine, where he is going to encourage Zionists or individuals who wanted to restore a homeland for the Jewish population. But he promises in this Balfour Declaration that the rights of non-Jewish individuals in the region would also be protected. So he issues this in 1917. After World War I had come to a close, we see this growing Zionist movement. And then because of World War II and the Holocaust that occurred, we see that there is a growing support for this. And so in 1947, the United Nations is going to partition the region, Palestine, into an Arab state and a Jewish state. Jerusalem would be owned by neither side, but the Arab states adamantly went against this. They claimed that it was not the United Nations' right to try and partition an area that they believed was rightfully theirs. But even though they had done this in 1948, the United Nations is going to officially create the state of Israel. So you can see the amount of territory. So this would be Palestine, what Palestine would become again as the years kind of progress. So there is going to be frequent war between the nations surrounding the region. Right the day after Israel's created, 6 states are going to invade the region, Egypt being one, Iraq, Jordan, and conflict just continues to erupt between 1956, 67, and 73, and it's ongoing today. Palestinians are forced to settle in refugee camps. You are also going to see that Jewish populations who had lived in former Palestinian territories are going to be forced to resettle as well. So the 6-day war is going to break out. Israel is actually going to strike some airfields. It lasts for 6 days. At the conclusion of the conflict, Israel is going to be successful. The Arabs had lost about 15,000, some estimates up to 18,000 individuals. And Israel is going to gain Jerusalem, which, remember, under the initial partition would not belong to either side, the Sinai Peninsula, Golan Heights, and the West Bank. So this is going to be a pretty big extension of Israeli territory, and then again, kind of this further push for Palestinians to move. So as a response to that, we are going to see that in 1973, Arab nations are going to launch the Yom Kippur War, which was a Jewish holiday. Yom Kippur was. Anwar Sadat is going to lead this movement as far as the Arab nations are concerned. Egypt was concerned. And Golda Meir is actually going to be very successful for Israel in launching a counterattack. So much so that they are going to kind of maintain control over the territories. So even though initially in the Yom Kippur War, the Arab nations were able to gain back some of the territory that was lost from the 6-day war, Golda Meir's counterattack actually leads to them losing that territory once again. And so because of this conflict in 1964, the Palestinian Liberation Organization is going to be created. Initially, it's kind of got a bunch of different groups of people who are supportive of the movement. Some are lawyers, there are doctors, there are some guerrilla fighters. As the years progress, it becomes a much more militant organization and dominated by those guerrilla fighters. So Yasser Arafat is going to begin leading the PLO in the 1960s and 1970s, and we start seeing the increase of terrorist attacks, suicide bombers, those types of things as time kind of continues. So there have been different efforts at peace. In 1977, we are going to see that Anwar Sadat is going to recognize Israel as an official state. Jimmy Carter, who was the president at the time, is going to jump on this and recognizes, hey, they're willing to negotiate. So he invites them to Camp David in Maryland, where the two kind of sit down and talk for about 13 days. And again, Egypt comes out and officially recognizes the autonomy of Israel. It says Israel is a state. And remember, those Arab nations for years had said it was not a state, that the United Nations did not have the ability to do this. So Egyptian recognition of Israel as a state is huge and is actually going to lead to Sadat's death or assassination from people who did not believe that Arab nations should have recognized its state. So in 1987, we see continued conflict. The first intifada is going to develop, which means uprising. We see that it can exist in different boycotts and protests and demonstrations, but we also are going to see that some violence breaks out. The first intifada is going to end about 1991, where they have some peace talks. 1993, Israel is going to grant Palestinians self-rule in the Gaza and West Bank. But sure enough, we're going to see, and that was the Oslo Peace Accords, I'm sorry, but sure enough, we're going to see that as time progresses, they continue to fight each other, and there tends to continue to be conflict, especially when we see the introduction of nuclear arms or weapons. So the second intifada is going to occur in the 2000s. The resolution or negotiations had come to a close. We see again the growth of suicide bombers during this time. And by 2006, Hamas is created, which was a militant organization with the goal of replacing Israel with an Islamic state. Israel refused to recognize the government of Hamas for the Palestinians. And so it just led to kind of this shifting power. And we've seen different prime ministers who've come into a position of power. Some are willing to have peace talks, some are not willing to have peace talks. The United Nations has attempted to kind of step in. The United States has pulled itself in several different occasions, just like I mentioned with the Camp David Accords. We're going to see with the Oslo as well, with Bill Clinton. There is kind of this constant push to negotiate an end to the region. But again, it is much more complex than I think a lot of people understand, because there is a historical relevance and significance to both groups of people, and both groups of people have felt like they have been displaced, that they are refugees and not getting support that they needed. And so even though there have been periods of time where there have been peace talks and negotiations, there have been just as many periods of time where that conflict has continued to grow. All right, and that is decolonization. Obviously, there are a lot of other areas that are going to gain independence, but we're just going to kind of focus on those. There are different areas in Southeast Asia, Central Asia, but we're going to hit those high points, and hopefully you learned a lot.